And we're back. So, this is part two of what was supposed to be a one-part video. And then I screwed up the first time and didn't tape that video. And then the second time I taped it, it was 33 minutes long. And I'm cognizant of the fact that some people might think that that's a little bit on the long side for this kind of content. And so, instead of covering all the updates in that same video, I made a second video. So here you go. We're going to go through the updates that have been posted so far for Chronicles of Drunagor, Age of Darkness, Apocalypse. So let's jump right into it. We've got the first update here. Let's see what they're calling out, if there's anything particularly interesting. So there's a couple of things. They talk about the free token for following the campaign, the Fallen Sisters again. They just keep kind of reminding you about this. I also keep reminding you about this. If you're going to back this game, follow it. There's no reason not to, really. You can always unfollow it later. And then this is interesting. We're going to offer a unique Darkness token initiative track for those backing our campaign in the first 48 hours. They're still working on the design. This is really cool. I love, especially if it's plastic. Man, I'll be so excited. Because I love my plastic upgrades for cardboard stuff. I'm that guy who has every single plastic token for Arcadia Quest and all the doors for Zombicide and everything, you know. Ooh, look at me play. Love messing around with that stuff. So this is super exciting. I wonder if it'll function different or if it'll just look different. I guess we'll see soon. And then they just talk about stuff they're going to be getting into, like VAT, localization, and such. So pretty light update. This was a couple weeks ago. Let's keep moving here. Update 2, they talk about, this is the Wild Descent crossover update, basically. So one of the stretch goals for Wild Descent was a crossover with Vorn from Chronicles of Drunagor. And wow, does this miniature look amazing. I will probably be using this in Chronicles of Drunagor because this is a really gorgeous render. And based off of everything I've seen in terms of people who have gotten a physical copy of miniatures from Storm Sunder and etc., it's probably going to look pretty close to this, which is impressive. So very excited about that. But they just go into Wild Ascent. It's nice to see companies working together like this. I always appreciate it. And so, and something interesting they call out here that they have more crossovers, Madara and Tanaris Adventures as well. Very cool. These are both games that I either own or will own soon. So, can't wait to get more crap for all my games. Pretty light, though, on details on that one. This is the third update, multi-language and epic voice acting. So, first of all, they call out that they're going to have a printed version of the game and the core box for the following languages. I am very embarrassed to say that I'm not 100% sure what all these countries these flags represent. I believe this is Germany. I kind of don't even want to guess. I think it's Spain. And I have no idea what this flag is. So I'm really quite embarrassed. I backed myself right into that. I should have thought about that before I made the video. But anyways, they're putting it out in more languages, and they'll have digital versions of the materials in even more languages than that. So very cool. Always glad to see a company kind of supporting, players all around the world. I live in the United States, and I'm aware that, in our part of the world at least, it's a very kind of USA-centric viewpoint. But I try to be cognizant of the fact that there are 7 billion other people on this planet. So, and some of them deserve to play this game too. So glad to see it. They go into who's doing all that stuff. I don't nowhere care about that. This is really interesting. I'm trying to remember right now if I've talked about this before. But they have a foreteller coming out for Chronicles of Drunagor for the core box. Foreteller, if you don't know, is basically an app on your phone that will read professionally narrated quest content from board games. So like Madara has a foreteller app version, for example, which in that game is particularly useful because it's not uncommon for you to find a stretch of 7 to 10 pages of dialogue in that game, and or story between missions. And so I think foreteller is awesome. I love using it. It's so much easier to use than Madara. Initially they were just like putting out like files, basically like MP4s that you could put on your phone, and having it in foreteller, having it all be professionally narrated is just all in one place for a bunch of different games is just super useful. And so this is awesome. And so they've got foreteller coming to get your professional voice acting into the core box. Bear in mind, this is only the core box. They don't have this yet announced for Apocalypse or for any of the expansions or anything. But even just this is pretty great. And there is a teaser here that you can listen to. I listened to it. It sounds really cool. That's all I have to say on that, basically. Moving on. The campaign video. Let's see. That's pretty much all that's in here, so I'm not going to touch on this. You can come in here and watch this video. You see, apparently, that you do get a glimpse of the dragon. I don't remember if I watched this. I did watch it, but I don't... The scale of the dragon is hard to understand until you see it next to other miniatures and such, and so I don't know that I got the full breadth of that thing from that video. And then this is a really big update where they get into all sorts of stuff. So they're showing you all the content that you can get with all the expansions, including there's that enormous dragon sitting on, I don't even know if that's an extra large tile or what, but he's sitting on a tile. Somehow they managed to fit that onto a tile. And here's like the current dragon, which is already huge. I don't know if this is the scale, but if it is, this dragon looks like it's like 4 times the size of that. So, wow. And here's some images of it. Just what an awesome dragon. This thing is easily going to be the same size and scale of like the Elder Dragon from Tanari's Adventures, Arena of the Contest, or in approaching the size of like the Joan of Arc dragon. That dragon is colossal. Its wingspan is colossal. So I'm not saying that this is the same size as that. I'm saying that this is as close to in the ballpark of that as I've seen previously. And like something like Tanari's Adventures with the Dragon Collection, this looks like it's 2 to 3 times the size of any one of those little dragons, which are still really cool, and I paid for the painted ones and everything. So, very excited. Moving on, you've got the 4 Horsemen box. We talked about the ridiculousness of somehow them managing to make a bigger box for this game in the previous video. God bless Creative Game Studios pushing the envelope on the size of boxes. They go into some details about, just like the changes that the world has gone through in the last couple years in terms of materials cost and shipping costs and such. And they note here that the price for the core game plus stretch goals is only going up 16% from where it was back in 2019 when the campaign already released. I talked about this in a previous video. I can't remember if I talked about it in the deleted version that I failed to, not deleted, but the version that I failed to tape, or the one that's going up. But the price for this game in the original campaign was absurd, especially the Black Friday deal that they ran. It was unsustainable. I don't even understand how these people are still in business. And so to only have a 16% increase going forward, this is consistent with something like the Wild Set reprint. It had, I think, a $20 increase between the original and core box and the new release, Live on Rising. So this is very reasonable. They are not trying to kind of take advantage of anybody. They're just trying to not eat ramen for the rest of their lives, basically, with this price is what it seems like. And even here, I'm wondering, these poor guys, maybe send them a pizza or something, because it still seems like ramen money to me. But God bless them. Who doesn't want cheaper games with more awesome crap in them? Like, go forth and make more stuff. I'm happy to take advantage of it. So, here they talk about the fact that there will be some more pledges that aren't released right off the bat. So there will be a pledge that has an all-in for Apocalypse and everything, basically. So the core campaign and all-in for the Apocalypse. And then they will have an AOD plus Apocalypse all-in. So I guess that's the same thing, maybe. I don't know. There will be additional pledges that aren't represented in the list of pledges that I reviewed in the first video. But they call it here that those won't be available right off the bat. They're going to put them out in the last week of the campaign. And, like, it's just really cool that they're transparent about this, because this is the kind of thing that all these companies do. They throw a pledge in the last couple days to an all-in pledge to try and, generate that last-minute kind of surge that you see on Kickstarter campaigns. Because from what I've seen, campaigns, they take off, they crater, they kind of roll along, and then they take off again at the end. And usually adding a pledge like this or adding an add-on real late in the game is a way of kind of getting that plane to take off. But here they're telling you that that's what they're doing. And they're not doing it to be snarky. They're doing it so that you don't wait necessarily to pledge for something, because you won't get the free initiative track that they're putting out that we talked about earlier. So just bear that in mind. It's I plan on just backing the Apocalypse box basically, and then changing it when this gets updated. So moving on, this is awkward because they go into that and they talk about that. And I think they do a really good job of being clear and decisive, and laying out exactly what the plan is. They don't come off as wishy-washy here. They have a plan and a way to move forward. But my knowledge of that as an ignorant American who has other things going on in his life is virtually non-existent. And so I feel like this might be better if y'all just read this yourselves, because I kind of don't want to get into this too much. But the bottom line is what they are committing to doing is maintaining the highest quality at the lowest price possible, adding all that content, and allowing that taxation to be paid by the customer that's obliged to do so. And they talk about here how some companies will take a game that costs $110 and bump it up to $135 for everybody, so that is kind of the cost of that is distributed across all the backers. And I personally don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I could easily understand why somebody in the United States would say, why the hell am I paying you more so that someone else can get your game? And so they said, well, we're not doing that. We don't want to force people to pay more than we want to charge, basically. They talk about they could just kind of risk it, deal with it, take the VAT hit themselves, but that could make the project untenable. That money does have to come from somewhere. And so what they decided to do is to have the backer pay for it. I don't have any idea how this gets collected, but I don't know if it sounds like it won't just be built into the pledge, because here you can see $135 with no VAT or $110 is the regular fair price, and whoever needs will pay the VAT in the pledge. So they're not doing that, which I have seen a lot of companies do. Here they're just asking that the customer basically pay it at, I assume, the time of transaction. So, at least they're being really clear, and they're explaining their their decision making kind of methodology here, which I think is always valuable. The transparency is just so valuable. They didn't just come across this. They're not just doing the easiest thing. They thought about it. They asked for feedback. They asked me for feedback. And I gave them the very little feedback that I could. But so this is the plan, the way forward, and they go into why this is important, basically, because, that is a real thing. And it has to be acknowledged and it has to be dealt with. And so they call it out. Read through this for yourself to get a lot more detail and maybe to even know what that stands for. I think it's value added tax, but I think maybe it's not because that seems too obvious. I don't know. I will commit to not ever knowing what that means because I'm not going to go look it up. So here we get into the really interesting thing, and one of these things is like a little spoiler that blew my freaking mind when I saw it. I'm so excited. Basically, what they're saying here is they've heard the feedback from the community and they are making changes to the game. So they're updating all the printed materials from the first campaign so that the reprint will come updated. So the reprint will be the best version of the game right off the bat. But they call out, we love our backers from the first campaign, and we want to reward you for your loyalty. And so if you back at least the Apocalypse Adventures box, you will get the update pack for free, or you can add it as an add-on in the PM for whoever wants to just buy it, basically. Now, included in this update is getting right to the spoiler, to the thing that I was super excited about, the token tray. They have redone this. I hammered them on this in a couple of different videos, and God bless them for listening and doing something about it. I want to say in one of my videos, I even literally got the token tray from another game, Dice Throne Adventures, and said, this is what you should be doing. This looks identical to the tray from Dice Throne Adventures. So I don't know, maybe somebody watched that, maybe it had an impact. I'm sure a lot of people were complaining because the other token tray was just like really badly kind of thought out. But if you know anything about me, if you know about the channel, you know storage is a thing for me. This is kind of a passion of mine in the hobby, and I will be happy to undo some of my custom organization to utilize this token tray if it's usable. And this totally looks usable. It's game trays. The first tray was rock solid in terms of design. The lid snapping on and everything was all perfect, except that every aspect of the way it was laid out was a horrible nightmare. And so they've learned. They have individual spots for every single type of token. It looks like beautiful. Love it. Thank you so much, Creative Game Studios, for listening to people and to just owning up. Yeah, we messed it up. We'll fix it. Can't ask for anything more from these companies, honestly. The thing, how many companies, how many much bigger, much more powerful, much more kind of, financially solvent companies would just say, you know what, to hell with you guys. We tried, it didn't work out, who cares? We already have your money. These guys are going back, they're admitting that mistakes were made, and they're fixing them. And the mistakes that they made in that original campaign were relatively small compared to the amount of stuff they delivered. But they are fixing them. The token tray is updated. Streamlining the darkness rules. I still don't have a sense of exactly what this streamlining consists of, but they're making it simpler, easier, faster, more dangerous, and make it so that you can't just kind of hang around in a room. So, which I assumed was always the intention of the darkness. So, changing up the darkness rules a little bit. They're rewriting the story to add meaningful decisions and make your interactions really matter in the storyline and help you apart from resource giving. So yeah, this is something I've noticed. It's not something I would take as a critique of the game because I still love the experience of opening that book and using the kind of interaction points and such, and I still think it adds to the game and it's really cool, but it doesn't, at least so far, have a material impact on like the flow of the game for the most part. It's really just like what kind of bonus are you going to get. I haven't actually come across a bad one yet. I'm sure there might be some. I haven't seen one. It's just all been like awesome items that I get. And while that's fun, I do also like the idea of them integrating more into the story, which is something they're doing in the Apocalypse campaign, and so they're retroactively adding that same level of integration to the core game. Great idea. Reworking treasure chest mechanics to make them more frequent and considerably more interesting, making you want to find and open them. I don't know. I don't have a problem with the treasure chests. I've opened only a couple of treasure chests the entire time I've been playing, and I've never gotten anything but a potion, so I wonder if that's maybe what they're thinking. And they say here, besides, this deck will be customizable in future expansions like Apocalypse in a deck building manner that keeps the rewards fresh and new. Very cool. So maybe like rarities, and you split them up, put 3 of rarity A, 3 of rarity B, 3 of rarity C, mix them together, throw them in there, and then you have cards that you didn't use. Very cool. Hope you love the hand gestures. I do it all for you guys. Reworking and rebalancing the camp items. Due to the fact that we'll have more adventure items and interesting rewards, need to rebalance to make leveling more meaningful and reliable. Reworking monster progression and creating alternate behaviors and targeting to increase monster replayability without adding too much component cost. All monsters should have a more straightforward version and one that has something special. Balancing monster variety and counters should provide for different strategies from room to room. This is really cool and aligns with what they're doing in the campaign already related to the AI cards and such, and trying to differentiate between monsters. And rebalancing the printed folded doors. Now that the monsters can have 2 versions, many interactions will now trigger traps, disable tracks, or add rooms. And so we're going to add more chests in the setup. All doors will pass. Oh, and we're going to add more chests on the setup, so all doors will pass to a review, and many should also pass a rework. So this is a lot of significant update, and the sense that I get is that most of this came from feedback that they got from customers. So it's just really nice to see, it's not like they're just doing everything that every person complains about. I would assume not, at least. But some of this stuff is totally legitimate. Make the treasure chests more interesting. Make the campaign, the decision making in the campaign more meaningful. Update that god-awful token tray. And so they're taking feedback and they're acting on it. And if you back the Apocalypse campaign, which if you're a fan of this game and you already have the first game, I would recommend at least, you're going to get this for free anyways. So really cool. Very glad to see that they are capable of taking feedback. So many people in this world, whether game companies or just people that I encounter in my everyday life, just cannot take feedback. They don't want to hear it. They can't accept that people could have weaknesses. I love taking feedback. I'll take it all day. I don't care. I know I'm a badass, so I don't worry about my flaws. I have a million of them. I just, focus on my strengths, and I work towards fixing the things that people point out as flaws. Somebody pointed out in one of my first videos, you say too much. It's really goddamn annoying. Ever since he said that, I've at least tried. It's in the back of my mind. I try not to say it so much, and I notice it when other people do it, and it is insanely annoying. I never picked up on it before. It's just part of the kind of idiom of the English language. People use this thing as a means of filling gaps between thoughts. And now I notice it. I'm sitting in meetings at work or I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm like, for the love of God, man, think about what you're going to say. And they seem to be the same way. They're open to feedback. They've taken it directly from me. They've taken it from people like you, customers in their Discord, wherever, and they're making changes for it. So good on them. And this is the kind of company personally that I want to be supporting. Not telling anybody else what to do with their money. I've done that like 10 times in these 2 videos already. I probably shouldn't have. But for myself, this is the kind of company that I want to support and I want to engage with. And so I will be doing that by buying all of this crap when this thing comes out. I'm going to have a pile of Drunagor boxes big enough where if you split them up and rework them, you can just bury me in them. It's great. It's fine. They're nice, sturdy boxes, dude. It'll be fine. I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So that's it, though. really great update. Tons of super detailed information about exactly what's coming in boxes, exactly the scale of these miniatures. Talking very deeply about that, showing all the changes that they're making to the game to make it just the best game that it can possibly be. And I think that the game warrants that second pass because it is a really tremendous game. The minute to minute gameplay of managing your character in this game is absolutely awesome. It has all the best parts of something like Batman, Gotham City's Chronicles, or Conan, but it's cooperative and I think even more intuitive than those games are. It really feels like an MMO to me. It feels like World of Warcraft, where you can combo your abilities. You have like a rotation almost, which in something like Descent, I just never get that sense. It feels much more like Dungeons and Dragons, where it's like I cast a sleep spell. This is like I'm gonna charge over here and hit this guy for 2 damage, and then I'm gonna use my secondary charge, gonna give me 2 shields, and I'm gonna fly across the room to the other guy and take him out. And that kind of multiple phase actions where everything you're doing for the most part is pretty cool, instead of like I'm going to rest, here's me not participating this round, is just tremendous. And again, just speaking to the company and their attention to detail, look at the size of this freaking FAQ. I was going to take a look at this and just say, do they have anything in the FAQ? There's 20-30 questions that they've already answered here. Amazing. How thick are the player hero boards and maps? 400 milligrams. Like, what? Oh, these guys are awesome. So take a look at the campaign. See if it's for you. I really like it, and I'm going to be blasting out content, an avalanche of content about this game over the next couple of weeks, because people are going to be looking for it, and I want to support Creative Game Studios. They made a great game, and they have a great philosophy about kind of how to manage and keep the game fresh and keep it relevant and keep updating it, iterating on it. Don't take advantage of people. Don't try to hide from that. Everybody knows it's a thing. Just get it out there and be honest and be decisive. Don't sound wishy-washy. Don't sound like you're still thinking it through. That scares people. They don't know how much their game's going to cost. The only thing I would say out of all of this that I notice is missing is a discussion about shipping. And I would probably add something like that. Even if it is just to the effect of, the world is crazy right now, and we have no goddamn idea how much this game is going to cost to ship. Because a lot of people are saying that, and that's fine. But not mentioning it at all feels a little weird. So I would bring that up too. But beyond that, yeah, just so excited for the campaign to launch. Hope you enjoyed these 2 videos. And I will see you when the campaign launches, and just be ready to see a lot of Drunagor-based content over the next week or 2. So hope you're looking forward to that, and I will talk to you later.